Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Sydney Harris. If you've been following America 250 PA, you may have seen our recent announcement unveiling the first round of semi-quincentennial grant recipients. We are proud to support 33 organizations across 18 counties in Pennsylvania with a total of $490,000 in funding, made possible through the generous support of Governor Josh Shapiro and the Pennsylvania legislature. America 250 PA's semi-quin grants are designed to elevate educational, civic, and celebratory initiatives that will enrich Pennsylvania's commemoration of the United States' 250th anniversary in 2026. With this milestone announcement and February marking Black History Month, we're kicking off a special two-part series highlighting two extraordinary grant recipients who are dedicated to preserving, honoring, and uplifting Black history, culture, and voices across the Commonwealth. For our first episode in this series, we are thrilled to welcome Shirley Lee Corsey, Conservator and Executive Director of the Gather Place Museum. Shirley, a third-generation resident of Yardley Borough, assumed the role of conservator for the historic African-American Episcopal Church in 2022. Since then, she has transformed this landmark into Bucks County's first African-American-owned and operated museum, the Gather Place, which officially opened its doors on September 10th, 2022. The Gather Place is dedicated to preserving history, celebrating culture, and fostering community engagement. As part of this mission, the museum's program, celebrating 250 years of American resilience, Yardley Borough, Bucks County, and beyond, a legacy of justice and equality, has been awarded a $20,000 semi-quin grant. Today, Shirley joins us to share more about the Gather Place Museum and the incredible work being done by her organization. Thank you so much for being here, Shirley.
Thanks for having me, Sydney. It's just an honor to be here and speak with you.
It's an honor to speak with you as well. For our listeners who are just learning about the Gather Place Museum, can you tell us a little bit more about it, its history, mission, and purpose? What do you hope to achieve through your work at the Gather Place?
Gather Place Museum is located in the historic African Methodist Episcopal, AME, Church of Yardley Borough. It was built by African Americans in 1877. And we're located in the historic district of Yardley Borough. So I've been able, in the last 3 years, to repurpose this wonderful historic landmark that's also listed in the National Register of Historic Places. I've been able to restore it and preserve the building, as well as repurpose it as a living history museum. And our mission is to preserve and share the rich history of African Americans, women, Quakers, and the wonderful legacy of Bucks County's Underground Railroad. And we do this through interactive exhibits, first-person presentations, lectures, and a variety of educational formats, both online and in person. We connect the struggles and triumphs of the past to today's ongoing fight for justice and equality. Sydney, there are so many untold stories of American history that we aim to bring to life.
As you stated, your museum is located in a very historic building, the AME of Yardley, which was built in 1877. Can you share a little bit more about the significance of this building and the role that it has played in the local African American community over the years?
Oh, yes, Sydney. I feel like I've picked up the torch from those before me. It sat vacant, I guess, about 40 years. It has not been an active church since the 1990s when the last family member passed away. The property, originally known as the Boatyard Lot, has deep ties to Yardley Borough's founding family. Its Quaker roots, Yardley Borough, like the state of Pennsylvania, was founded by Quakers. Our founder, his name was William Yardley. Then when he passed away, his nephew came from England. His name was Thomas Yardley. And the village really blossomed. It became known as Yardleyville. Now, the property where our church stands has an interesting background. Before it was a church built in 1877, in the early 1800s, it was owned by another Quaker family, the Eastburn family. And it was known as a gathering place for a handful of African American worshipers. They became known as free peoples, and it then established the colored church in 1817, serving as a cornerstone of Yardley's African American heritage and potentially a stop on the Underground Railroad alongside other historic Yardley Borough sites.
And your work focuses on uncovering these forgotten or perhaps untold aspects of Yardley Borough and Pennsylvania's Quaker founders, including African American women's history. How do you go about researching and sharing these lesser-known stories with the public?
My research has been a labor of love. I've been the conservator of the building for 3 years now. People in my community say that myself and my brother Michael Lee and several others in my community, we literally kind of restored the church. It was falling apart, and I became the legal conservator through the Bucks County courts in July of 2022. And since then, we started with a grant to first rehab the building. And once we were able to do that, and it's just amazing, this building built in 1877 is very well preserved. And so once we were able to have the building rehab and we could go in the building and I could start my programs, I'm so happy to say my biggest support early on was the Yardley Historical Association. The president, Susan Taylor, which I'm also a member of the Yardley Historical Association, they keep all types of wonderful archives about Yardley and our Quaker roots, as well as the African American community, because Yardley Borough had a strong, thriving African American community, which I'm from. I'm a third generation Yardley Borough resident. So my research started there. And then I also reached out to several other Bucks County historians, a gentleman named Jeffrey Marshall. At that time, he was still the director of the Heritage Conservancy in Doylestown. I reached out to him, and he was able to send me some additional archival information about the church. And early on, the Bucks County Conservancy in 1982, they recognized the building also as a historic landmark. From there, I started networking with other historical associations throughout Bucks County. I networked with the Pennsbury Manor. So it's just a beautiful community, I have to say. Throughout Bucks County, there is such great support for our historical landmarks. So that's how I go about my research, networking, doing programs, documentation, and all of our programs we do are based on primary sources. We are reenactors. We love to bring history to life based on historical primary sources. So that's how we go about it.
It is really incredible to hear, the lengths and the work that you do to rediscover these stories and this history. And I think, our listeners and I definitely would love to hear one of these lesser known stories in Yardley, perhaps a particular one that resonates with you or had a significant impact on the community or your visitors.
Oh, I would love to share that with you, Sydney. One powerful story is that of Edward E. Robinson, a lifelong Yardley Borough resident. He became the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's first African American mayor in 1877. His election was a milestone for Black political leadership in our state. Visitors often are inspired to learn how Yardley's African American community has shaped history in so many ways that people don't know, basic ways. And I'm happy to say, through a grant I got from the National Trust of Historic Preservation for preserving Black churches, I'm able to archive information like Mr. Robinson, and then the everyday African American community who's been part of Yardley Borough's basic essential since the 1800s, 1900s, and they were an active part of the community. They were very spiritual with 3 African American churches in our little borough. They did the basic everyday work, like before we had a public sewer system. I have to say, these basic things, the people from the African American community in the 1900s throughout were the ones responsible for digging trenches for the sewer lines and so many other things. We also have a gentleman who was a big proponent of talking about the Underground Railroad sites in Yardley Borough. His name was Millard Mitchell. And they were strong women. I'm proud to say, as the granddaughter of one of these women, I want to tell their story. Just everyday people who were the foundation of our borough.
I'm so glad you brought up how ordinary people can truly make a difference. And that's something that we really want to share at America 250 PA as well, about how the people of Pennsylvania are its backbone, are what makes it great. And I think, when we entered into this grant process, that was something that we really kept in mind and that we focused on. And so I do want to talk about the grant that you received from America 250 PA. You received recently around $20,000 for your program celebrating 250 years of American resilience, Yardley Borough, Bucks County, and beyond, a legacy of justice and equality. Can you share with us a little bit more about this program and what you hope to accomplish through it?
Oh, it's so exciting, Sydney. What an honor. I've talked about my background, my family, and the neighborhood I knew as a young girl growing up in Yardley Borough, and then being able to, with the support of my family and my neighbors, in developing Gather Place Museum, which is a Pennsylvania nonprofit organization. And then I began networking. As soon as I heard about this America 250, it was actually my brother Michael a year and a half ago. He says, you should look into this. And I immediately became a nonprofit affiliate. And it's been wonderful going to the meetings, meeting people. And we also do things on our local level in Bucks County also. But that was my goal, just networking. And then when I heard about this grant, I went to the pre-submission sessions that were so well run. And my goal, since I've been initiating Gather Place Museum and the programs I talked about for the past 2 years, my goal was to be able to get funding so we could expand on what we've been doing in Yardley Borough and in our community around Yardley Borough. Wouldn't it be wonderful, I thought, if my whole state could know about what we've been doing? And so that's what my proposal was. I need to now expand my staff. I need more reenactors. I would like to have more support for my volunteers, docents at the museum. We're getting requests now to go out to many libraries in this area. So our goal is to improve and expand on what we've been blessed to do over the last 2 years. So this program that I've titled Celebrating 250 Years of American Resilience, Yardley Borough, Bucks County, and Beyond, a legacy of justice and equality. So this grant will allow us to expand our programs. We are developing walking tours. In Yardley Borough, we're such a nice little quaint community, which is reflective of many little Bucks County communities. And people love to walk around to see our historic site. So we plan on having additional walking tours. We're right along the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Canal. We're near Lock 5. We've already been cited as a official Delaware and Lehigh National visiting site. So we want to expand on that. We want people throughout our state with the 250th celebration to visit Yardley Borough and share along our walking tours. The canal towpath is historic. We'll also expand on our historical reenactment. Right now, our premier program is The Full Life of Harriet Tubman. Our goal now is to expand out to Frederick Douglass reenactor. We want William Still, Lucretia Mott. There are so many women throughout the state of Pennsylvania who were a big part of our nation's development. Lucretia Mott was part of the 1848 Seneca Falls first women's suffrage convention, and she knew Frederick Douglass, and they were both here in Bucks County. So we reenact these stories. Our goal is to bring these untold stories to a broader audience throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And we're just so happy that this grant will allow us to do all of these things.
As we were talking about what you hope to achieve with this grant and beyond, your passion really came through. And so I'd love to hear more about that, your aspirations for the Gather Place in the next few years, especially as we approach this monumental anniversary of 250 years of the United States. Where do you hope to see the Gather Place in 2026 and beyond?
This grant will allow us to expand on what we've been doing successfully, the reviews that we get from senior citizens, and they love coming out to our little church museum. So we want to continue that throughout the state. We want to make sure that our senior citizen population or even our special needs population will be able to be part of Pennsylvania's celebration. And this grant will allow us. We're also planning to expand, not just with this grant, is a capital works plan. So our area in the church, it was built in 1877, we're going to expand so it's ADA accessible. We're going to expand on the back of the church, not interrupting any of the historical architecture. But because we know the population that we want to make sure is including in all these celebrations are the seniors, those with special needs. So our goal is to bring this history to life to a broader population. We plan to do additional outreach to schools, community centers. We are going to expand our oral history projects, our Generational Voices project, expand our digital archive for additional oral history. We know if the people in Yardley have something to say about history and the everyday life of people, wouldn't it be lovely to use our program as a model throughout all these communities in Bucks County? We want everyone else to have an opportunity to tell their community story. History for me begins at home with our family, and then goes out to our community, our state, and our nation. And that's our goal with Gather Place Museum. And this grant will definitely help us reach our goals for now in 2026 and beyond.
And we're so happy to be involved and to help you do that. And you have some certain goals for 2026 in mind with the grant and with other programs. And you actually have dates that you're hoping to accomplish this by. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, we have a specific project timeline. Our program title, Celebrate America's 250th Anniversary with Gather Place Museum. Our history-rich lineup and programs include first-person presentations and lectures honoring trailblazers like Lucretia Mott, Frederick Douglass, William Still, Harriet Tubman, and Ida B. Wells. And those will plan in January, February, and March, reflective of African American and Women's History Month. Our programs are America's history, so we plan to celebrate in that fashion through first-person presentations and lectures. Also, on June 19th, we're going to have a Juneteenth celebration lecture. That will include American Revolution soldiers of African descent. We're going to share the story of how George Washington had African Americans a part of the American Revolution. And there's actually an honor to them out in Valley Forge. We're also going to include the United States Colored Troops. People will learn that right here in Yardley Borough and Lower Makefield Township at the Slate Burial Ground, there are African American Civil War vets buried there. So we're going to have lectures and walking tours around the Slate Hill Cemetery. We're also going to have walking tours, discover Yardley's Underground Railroad landmarks and the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, including Canal, Lock 5, and our walk around Yardley Borough and our other Underground Railroad sites. We'll be doing that in the springtime, of course. April, May, and June, if it's not too hot, we'll have guided tours. We're also going to close out the year with a variety of workshops, exhibits, discussions, and we're going to deliver them in a variety of formats, in person, online, and going out in support of other 250th celebrations. We've been asked to network with other groups like the Newtown Historical Society and others. And then that's how we're going to close out the year, visiting other sites. And if we're asked to bring our programs, we'll do that. So this is a year and our timeline overview. And we look forward to anyone that has additional questions or who would like to participate with us.
I love your approach that history is for everyone. And I think our listeners, might be excited to see how they can participate in your dreams and your goals of expanding the Gather Place and making it accessible. And so I have to ask for our listeners who are looking to get involved, who want to be with you or help you expand this goal, what opportunities are available for volunteers, for donors, for community partners?
There are many ways to support Gather Place Museum. Volunteers can assist with research, events, and educational programs. Donors can help fund our restoration efforts, youth outreach, senior outreach, and oral history projects. We also welcome partnerships with schools, libraries, corporate sponsorship, and organizations to expand our programming and impact. Visiting our facility, we offer a variety of formats, in person, online, and we'll travel to your location. Attending our events and spreading the word will help keep this important history alive. We know we can't do it alone. There's an African proverb that says, it takes a village. And as the executive director of Gather Place Museum and conservator of this historic landmark that we're headquartered, the AME Church of Yardley, it's my goal to welcome the village. We want additional people who are passionate about history, who also are interested in furthering justice and equality, and also making sure so many untold stories are brought to life. And we want people to join us who have that same and common mission. Anyone interested in volunteering, please go to our website, gatherplace.org. And also, look out, in a month, we'll be putting information about how you can specifically help us gear up for all of our America 250 initiatives. And we thank the America 250 PA organization for making this happen for us.
Well, Shirley, we thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the powerful story of the Gather Place and your work to make this historic landmark a mechanism of storytelling. It has really been remarkable to hear how the museum is not only a place of history, but also a space for learning, storytelling, and engagement. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
From the restoration of the historic AME of Yardley Church to the launch of the Celebrating 250 Years of American Resilience program, the work of the Gather Place highlights the importance of honoring the past while building a stronger future. The Gather Place stands as a testament to resilience, education, and community-driven preservation. For our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to check out the Gather Place and get involved, whether through volunteering, donating, or simply visiting to learn more about this vital piece of Pennsylvania and American history. And don't forget, this is just the first part of our special two-part series. In our next episode, we'll be exploring another extraordinary Semi-Quinn Grant recipient, Friends of the Tanner House. We'll dive into how this historic landmark, once called the Center of the African American Intellectual Community of Philadelphia by historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson, continues to engage in meaningful work and conversations today. Stay tuned for the next episode, and thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and join us next time as we continue to celebrate the stories that shape our Commonwealth. Until then, stay PA proud.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Coleman, Executive Director of America 250 PA. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to learn more about America 250 PA and send us your podcast ideas at america250pa.org.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.